chosen ones. 3 days ago, someone just like you was sitting exactly where you are right now, watching a video just like this one. They had no idea that in the span of just a few hours, their entire life would take a drastic turn. It wasn't a coincidence that they found this message. No, it was divine timing at its finest. You see, everything they'd been through, every moment of struggle, every tear shed in the silence of the night had led them to this very moment. They didn't know it yet, but the unexpected blessing they were about to receive had already been set in motion. You might be asking, what kind of blessing could possibly change everything in an instant? And I'll tell you this, sometimes it's the kind of blessing that doesn't make sense. It's the financial breakthrough that comes when you're at your lowest. The call that leads to an opportunity you've prayed for but thought was out of reach. It's that moment when doors that were once shut tight suddenly swing open with ease. You see, blessings like this don't just happen by chance. They happen because God, in His infinite wisdom, has a plan for you. And that plan is always perfectly timed. 3 days ago, the person I'm speaking of experienced this divine intervention. It wasn't something they expected, nor could they have predicted it. But it was written. It was ordained. It was God's will unfolding in the most unexpected and awe-inspiring way. Now, you might be wondering, what does this have to do with me? Here's the thing. Today, it's your turn, chosen one. You are not here by accident. You didn't just stumble upon this video. Something greater than you can imagine led you here. Maybe you're at a point in your life where you feel like you're running out of time, where you're tired of waiting for the change you've been hoping for. Perhaps you've been praying, believing, and hoping that something, anything, would finally shift in your favor. You may have even been asking, God, when is it going to be my turn? Well, I'm here to tell you that your moment is now. God's plan for you is already unfolding, and everything that you've been through, the heartaches, the doubts, the fears, and the obstacles, has been leading you to this divine moment. It hasn't been in vain. It hasn't been a mistake. Every challenge you faced has prepared you for the blessings that are about to pour into your life in ways you can't even imagine. But here's the catch. You have to believe. You have to trust that this moment right now is not an accident. It's the beginning of something new, something miraculous. You see, God doesn't work on human time. He doesn't operate according to the clock you're used to. What may have seemed like a delay, a setback, or a closed door was actually just a setup. A setup for your blessing, your breakthrough, your divine elevation. You might not see it yet, but the universe is aligning in your favor, chosen one. The very thing you've been waiting for, the very thing you've been longing for, is closer than you think. What if I told you that by the time this video ends, your life could be completely different? That the doors that have been closed to you for so long are about to swing wide open? That the opportunity you thought was forever out of reach is about to fall into your lap? I know it may sound unbelievable, but trust me when I say this. This is your time. This isn't just a fleeting moment. It's the beginning of your transformation. And just like the person who experienced their blessing 3 days ago, you are now standing at the threshold of something life-altering. As you continue watching, stay open to the signs that are about to appear in your life. The clues that God has been leaving for you, the whispers that have been guiding you, and the divine interruptions that are happening right now. You're not here by accident. You've been called to this moment. Get ready, because something incredible is coming your way, and it's going to change everything. Your life is about to take a turn, and by the end of 2025, you'll look back at this moment and finally understand why everything happened the way it did. Let me ask you something, chosen one. Have you ever experienced something strange that you couldn't quite explain? Maybe you've had moments when you felt like you were reliving the same situation, as if the universe was sending you a sign that you couldn't quite grasp. Have you noticed a pattern of recurring numbers, 1111, 333, or even 555, appearing at the exact moment you needed them most? Perhaps you've been walking through life and all of a sudden something so unusual happens that it stops you dead in your tracks. A coincidence that felt so powerful, so intentional, that it sent chills down your spine. If you've experienced any of these things recently, know this. They are not coincidences. You see, the universe, in its divine wisdom, communicates with us in mysterious ways. And sometimes, the signs are subtle, like a whisper, but they carry weight. These signs are not random, and they are certainly not by chance. What you've been experiencing, those moments of déjà vu, those repeating numbers, or even those strange coincidences, are the very things that God uses to guide you, to signal to you that something incredible is about to unfold. Have you ever found yourself thinking about someone, only to receive a message or phone call from them moments later? That isn't random. Or perhaps you've been thinking about a certain opportunity that you feel has slipped through your fingers, only to have it show up in your life unexpectedly. That's no coincidence. Maybe, just maybe, you've been seeing the same numbers pop up on clocks, receipts, or license plates. Numbers that seem to follow you everywhere. And each time you see them, you can't help but feel a surge of energy, like the universe is trying to tell you something. These signs are more than just patterns. They are divine breadcrumbs, guiding you down the path that God has already set for you. Perhaps you've experienced something even stranger. You walk into a room, and it feels familiar, almost as if you've been there before. Your heart races, your mind spins, and you can't shake the feeling that you're on the verge of something monumental. Or maybe you've had a sense that something big is coming, but you just couldn't put your finger on it. These experiences are not just flukes, they are divine whispers. God speaks to us through these moments, urging us to pay attention. They are not just fleeting coincidences, they are signs. Signs that something major is about to take place in your life, and the time is drawing near. In fact, if you've had a recurring thought, a feeling that something is just around the corner, or that an unexpected blessing is coming your way, that's not just your imagination. God has been preparing you for this exact moment. The signs are not here by chance. They're not just random thoughts crossing your mind. They are divine messages, telling you that your breakthrough is on the way. Think about the times when you felt a sudden, inexplicable pull toward something, an opportunity, a place, or even a person. And then, when you followed that pull, you realized that it was exactly where you needed to be, at the exact moment you needed to be there. All of these things, the déjà vu, the repeating numbers, the strange coincidences, are God's way of telling you, pay attention. What's about to happen is bigger than you could ever imagine. These moments are not just fleeting chances. They are pieces of the divine puzzle, clues that everything is aligning for your breakthrough. The reality is, chosen one, these signs are God's way of confirming that you are not walking this path alone. He has been guiding you, watching over you, and preparing you for the next chapter. So the next time you experience something that feels too strange to be a coincidence, remember this. It's not. It's a sign that your time is coming. It's a sign that you are about to step into the blessing of a lifetime. And now, as you continue to notice these signs, realize that they are just the beginning. There's so much more to come. Things that will make your heart race and your spirit soar. This is the time. This is your moment. Let me tell you about Sarah, someone who, just a few months ago, was on the edge of losing everything. It seemed like life had thrown every possible obstacle in her path. Sarah had always been a fighter. She'd faced hardships before, but this time felt different. This time, the weight of the world was pressing down on her, and she wasn't sure how much longer she could hold on. Her finances were in ruins. The job she had worked so hard to secure had suddenly fallen through, leaving her with no source of income. Her relationships were strained, and she felt like her friends and family didn't fully understand the battles she was fighting on the inside. She would wake up every morning, burdened by the crushing weight of uncertainty, asking herself, "How did I get here?" But even in the darkest moments, Sarah held on to one thing: her faith. Despite the endless setbacks, despite the doubt that crept in every night, she refused to let go of the belief that there was a higher purpose for her life. She may have questioned her circumstances, but deep down, she knew that the story wasn't over yet. Then, something extraordinary happened. It wasn't a sudden overnight miracle, and it wasn't something that made sense at first. It was a quiet whisper in her spirit. It was a feeling deep within her that everything was about to change, even though she had no tangible evidence to support it. She had no way of knowing that her breakthrough was right around the corner, that everything she had been through was simply a preparation for the divine moment that was about to unfold. And just like you, Sarah had her doubts. She couldn't see how anything could change. She was trapped in a cycle of struggle, believing that things were never going to improve. But here's what happened next. Something so powerful, so life-changing, that it shook Sarah to her core and completely transformed her life. Stay with me, because this next part is the turning point. Just when Sarah thought she had reached her breaking point, the unthinkable happened. One night, while she was sitting alone in her room, exhausted from the constant battles and overwhelming uncertainty, she felt a sudden sense of peace wash over her, a peace she hadn't felt in months. For a brief moment, the noise in her head faded away, and in that quiet space, she heard a voice. It wasn't loud or demanding, it was gentle but firm, like the whisper of a long-lost friend. It told her, "This is not the end. I am with you. Your breakthrough is near." At first, Sarah tried to dismiss it. She thought, "How could that be true? My life is falling apart. There's no way I can come back from this." But deep down, she knew that something extraordinary had just happened. That moment of divine intervention marked the beginning of a drastic transformation. The next morning, as she went about her daily routine, something strange began to unfold. Out of nowhere, she received an email from a company she had applied to months ago, a company she had nearly given up on. To her surprise, they wanted to schedule an interview for the very next day. She could hardly believe it. It had been weeks since she'd heard from them, and her hope had nearly vanished. But now, it was as though the doors were opening, one after another. She had nothing to lose. So she prepared for the interview, but with a newfound confidence, as if she had been given a glimpse of something greater. And when the day came, Sarah stepped into that room with a boldness she hadn't felt in months. She felt aligned, connected, like the universe had already prepared the way for her. As she sat across from the hiring manager, she spoke with clarity and purpose. The words that came out of her mouth felt guided, almost as if someone else was speaking through her. The hiring manager, impressed by her confidence and vision, didn't waste any time. By the end of the interview, Sarah was offered the job on the spot, a position with a salary and benefits that she never dreamed she'd be offered. But that wasn't all. As the days passed, more doors continued to open for Sarah. Opportunities flowed into her life with ease, opportunities she had once thought were beyond her reach. Financial breakthroughs followed, as unexpected checks arrived in the mail, and long-standing debts were cleared almost miraculously. People who had once doubted her, who had written her off as someone who wouldn't make it, were now coming to her for advice, asking how she had turned everything around. The most remarkable part of all this wasn't the job offer or the money. It was the sense of peace and clarity Sarah felt throughout it all. She knew, without a doubt, that this was the result of divine intervention. She hadn't fought this battle alone. God had been with her every step of the way, preparing her for the moment when everything would change. And the best part? This was just the beginning. What Sarah didn't know at the time was that the breakthrough she had experienced was only a precursor to even greater things. But one thing was clear. God had placed her exactly where she needed to be, and every hardship had prepared her for this moment. She was no longer bound by fear or doubt. She was walking in divine favor, and nothing would ever be the same again. You might be thinking, this is unbelievable. Sarah's story is incredible, but how could things get any better than that? Well, chosen one, this is where the story takes a turn, where the unexpected happens and the miraculous becomes real. I'm not just telling you about Sarah to impress you with her success. No, there's more to this than meets the eye. Because what happened next, after her divine turnaround, shocked even me. You see, after Sarah had received that incredible job offer and the flood of blessings began to pour into her life, she didn't stop there. She was riding high, feeling like she had everything figured out. But God was preparing something far more significant than anything Sarah could have anticipated. What happened next made her question everything she thought she knew about faith, timing, and divine intervention. A few weeks later, Sarah received a call that would forever alter the course of her life. It wasn't a phone call about another job, nor was it a financial windfall. No, this call was from someone who had been part of her life years ago. A mentor, someone who had always believed in Sarah's potential but had been distant for some time. This mentor called Sarah with an opportunity that was beyond anything she could have imagined. An opportunity that had been specifically waiting for her all along. Now, here's the twist. When Sarah picked up the phone, she found out that her mentor had been the key decision-maker behind the very job she had landed. But it wasn't just that. The mentor revealed that her offer had been made with a higher purpose in mind, something that Sarah had no idea about at the time. You see, it wasn't just about Sarah getting a job or achieving financial freedom. It wasn't about her gaining recognition or success. No, what Sarah didn't know was that God had orchestrated this entire journey to lead her to a position where she could affect change in the lives of others. This job, this breakthrough, was merely the beginning of something far more extraordinary. The mentor revealed that Sarah had been chosen to lead a project that would impact thousands of people. People who were in the exact same place Sarah had been just a few short months ago. People who felt hopeless, lost, and stuck in the same cycle of despair. And it wasn't just any project. This was a project that would help lift people out of their circumstances. A project designed to bring others closer to their own divine destinies. It was in that moment, when Sarah realized that her breakthrough wasn't just for her, that the full weight of God's plan for her life hit her. She wasn't just receiving blessings for herself. She was being positioned to become a beacon of light, a vessel through which God's favor would flow to others. But here's where things get even more incredible. The divine timing of this all, how Sarah's struggles, her prayers, and her faith aligned perfectly with God's will, was beyond anything Sarah or I could have ever predicted. She wasn't just in the right place at the right time. She had been prepared for this moment through every hardship she had faced. And as I listened to Sarah recount this revelation, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of awe. This wasn't just about one woman's success. It was about God's greater plan unfolding. And as I looked at Sarah, I realized that the same divine intervention that had guided her life was now on its way to you. Because, chosen one, what happened next in Sarah's life is the same kind of blessing and divine favor that is already being set up for you. You might not see it yet, but just as Sarah's journey led her to this moment, your journey is about to take a miraculous turn. Now, chosen one, I need you to listen closely, because what I'm about to share with you is something that many are unaware of, something deeply significant in the spiritual realm that will change everything about the way you view time, purpose, and destiny. The end of 2025 is not just another year that comes and goes. No, it's a pivotal moment in your life, and it's not by coincidence that you're hearing this message today. There's a divine timing unfolding that will culminate by the end of this year, a time that has been set long before you were even born. You might have already felt it, an inner stirring, a sense that things are aligning, that something incredible is about to happen, but you can't quite put your finger on it. Let me tell you why this feeling is more than just anticipation. It's because God has been preparing you for this exact moment in history. The end of 2025 represents the close of one spiritual season and the beginning of a new era of blessings, opportunities, and divine favor for you. Throughout history, we see that specific times in the world's calendar have been marked by spiritual significance. Think about the stories in the Bible, how God had specific plans for individuals, nations, and seasons that were set to unfold at precisely the right time. We've seen this with Moses, Esther, David, and countless others who were appointed to fulfill their divine purpose during a critical time. And now, right now, you are standing on the edge of a similar moment. The spiritual significance of the end of 2025 is not just a coincidence. It's the culmination of years of preparation, a time that has been divinely ordained for breakthroughs. This is the moment when what has been in the works behind the scenes will come to fruition. Just like Sarah's story, it is a time when God will show His people that everything they have been through, every trial, every hardship, and every moment of doubt was necessary to bring them to this place. This is the time for divine alignment, when what has been sowed in faith, even in the darkest of times, will now begin to sprout. Think of it like a harvest season. For years you've been planting seeds in your life, seeds of prayer, of hope, of perseverance, and faith. And though you may not have always seen the results right away, every seed you've planted is now reaching its full potential. By the end of 2025, you will begin to see the fruit of those seeds. The prayers you've whispered in silence, the faith you've held on to even when no one saw it, the struggles that seemed endless. All of it is leading to this moment. And it's not just a moment of relief, it's a moment of abundance, of spiritual awakening, and of divine favor that will overflow into every area of your life. But here's the thing. It's not just about receiving blessings. It's about understanding that everything, every step of your journey, has been strategically planned by God. The end of 2025 is not merely an end. It is a beginning. It is the opening of a new chapter in your life where you will walk in greater purpose, walk in greater clarity, and experience greater peace than ever before. It's about stepping into your destiny in ways that will leave you amazed and in awe. The end of 2025 is spiritually significant because it marks the moment when everything that has been aligning in your life will manifest into something tangible, something real, something that will change you and those around you forever. It is a moment where God's plan for your life will be clearer than ever, and you will understand why everything had to happen the way it did. And here's the most amazing part. You are not waiting for this moment. This moment is already on its way to you. God has been working behind the scenes, orchestrating everything to lead you here. And by the end of 2025, you will be living in a time that feels destined. You will look back on this moment, the time you heard these words, and realize that everything that happens from now on is part of the divine purpose that's been unfolding just for you. So get ready, because by the end of 2025, your life will never be the same. The breakthrough you've been waiting for is already set in motion, and you are walking into a season of extraordinary favor and blessing. Now, chosen one, I want to take you back to ancient times, to the sacred scriptures that have stood the test of time and provided wisdom for generations. These scriptures are not just historical records. They are divine messages that speak to us in ways we often don't fully understand. What's astonishing is that there is ancient wisdom hidden within these sacred texts that actually predicted this exact moment in your life, this time when everything will change. In the book of Ecclesiastes, it's written, "To everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven." Ecclesiastes 3:1. These words remind us that there are seasons in life, seasons of sowing and seasons of reaping. The time you are entering is not random. It is a time that has been ordained for you. The season of struggle, of doubt, and of waiting is now coming to an end. The season of breakthroughs, prosperity, and divine favor is about to begin, and God's timing is perfect. But it doesn't stop there. There are other scriptures that specifically speak to what you are about to experience. In Isaiah 60:22 it says, "When the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen." Let that sink in for a moment, because this verse speaks directly to the divine timing we're talking about. The Lord Himself is telling you that the time has come. The time for your breakthrough, your divine favor, and your transformation is now. You've been waiting, you've been enduring, and you've been faithful. And now, it's God's perfect timing that will bring everything to fruition. And in Joel 2:25, God promises, "I will restore to you the years that the swarming locust has eaten." This verse is powerful because it speaks to the years of hardship, the struggles you've faced, and the things you've lost. The locusts that have stolen your joy, your peace, and your progress are about to be replaced with a restoration that only God can provide. Your losses are not permanent. They have been preparing you for what is coming. The divine restoration promised in this scripture is unfolding right now. And by the end of 2025, you will experience a full return of everything you thought was lost. But perhaps the most profound revelation comes from the words of Jesus in John 14:2-3, where He says, "In my Father's house are many rooms. I go to prepare a place for you." This scripture reveals that God has been preparing a place for you, a place where you will experience peace, fulfillment, and divine purpose in ways you can't yet fully understand. The blessings you are about to step into are not random. They are part of a much greater plan, one that God has been designing for you long before you were born. And here's the incredible part. The divine favor you're about to experience isn't just for you. It's for the generations that will follow you. Just as Abraham was blessed to be a blessing to nations, just as Joseph's rise to power saved not only his family, but countless others, the blessings coming your way are meant to be a beacon of light to those around you. God has been preparing you to be a vessel of divine favor for the world. These scriptures are not just beautiful words on a page. They are a living promise, a divine declaration that God has spoken over your life. They are evidence that everything you've gone through, everything you've endured, and every moment of doubt you faced has led you to this time. The ancient wisdom contained in these texts has been guiding you, aligning you, and preparing you for the miraculous transformation that is about to take place in your life. God's plan is not just about individual blessings. It's about a greater purpose, a divine alignment that will change the course of your life and the lives of those you touch. This moment, this season of divine favor, is exactly what the scriptures have been pointing to all along. By the end of 2025, you will look back on this moment and realize that it was foretold long ago. The divine wisdom of these scriptures has always been preparing you for this time, and now the time has come for you to step into your destiny. Let me introduce you to James. His story is one that many can relate to, especially if you've ever found yourself on your knees, waiting for an answer, feeling as though God had forgotten your prayer. James was a man who had been praying for 7 long years, for breakthrough, for guidance, for direction in his life. He had been seeking God's will and asking for His help, but year after year, it felt like his prayers were falling on deaf ears. Every time he prayed, it felt like he was just speaking into the void, with no response, no sign, and no confirmation that God was even hearing him. You see, James wasn't asking for anything extravagant. He wasn't praying for riches or fame. His prayer was simple yet profound. He wanted peace in his life. He was longing for a way out of his struggle. He had been stuck in a cycle of anxiety, stress, and uncertainty. His job was unfulfilling, his relationships were strained, and his sense of purpose seemed distant, as though it was just beyond his reach. For 7 years he prayed, asking God to show him the way forward. But each day felt like he was walking in the dark, with no light at the end of the tunnel. As time passed, doubt began to creep in. James started questioning whether God was truly listening, or if his prayers were just words that carried no weight. He even began to wonder if he was missing something, if there was something wrong with him, something that made his prayers ineffective. The uncertainty grew, and his faith, though strong, was beginning to waver. Every time he saw others receiving answers to their prayers, James felt a sense of discouragement. Why was God answering their prayers but not his? What was he doing wrong? But chosen one, I want you to hear this because it's so important. Just because you don't see immediate results doesn't mean that God isn't working behind the scenes. James's story is about to take a powerful turn, and I want you to understand that sometimes it's in the silence, in the waiting, that God is doing his greatest work. And that's what James was about to learn. His turning point came on a cold, quiet evening after a particularly difficult day. He had been praying again, pleading with God for direction, for answers. But that night, instead of the usual sense of frustration, he felt a stillness in his heart, a peace that he hadn't felt in years. As he sat there, alone with his thoughts, he heard a voice, not audibly but deep in his spirit. It was gentle, yet undeniable. The voice said, "It's not about the answer you're waiting for. It's about the readiness of your heart. I have been preparing you all along. You're not waiting for the breakthrough. You're becoming the breakthrough." That moment of clarity, that whisper from God, changed everything. James realized that his prayers hadn't been unanswered. God had been working all along, shaping and preparing him for what was to come. The waiting wasn't a punishment, it was a divine preparation. God was not ignoring him. He was refining him, molding his character, and aligning him with his greater plan. And then, just as James was about to give up, just as he was about to lose hope, a door opened. It wasn't a door he expected, but it was the one he needed. A friend reached out to him with an unexpected opportunity, an opportunity that would change his life in ways he had never imagined. It was as though the universe itself had conspired to bring him to this very moment. James had been praying for 7 years, but he had no idea that his true breakthrough was just around the corner. It's waiting for him to be ready to receive it. What happened next shocked even me, and it will shock you too, chosen one. I'll share that part of James's story in a moment, but let this sink in. Sometimes the answers we seek don't come in the way we expect. Sometimes God's timing and his methods are far greater than we could ever imagine. And your breakthrough is coming in ways that may surprise you. Now, chosen one, I need you to brace yourself, because what I'm about to tell you might seem impossible, but it's the truth. And it's exactly what happened in James's life. You see, the moment James received that unexpected call, a call that seemed to come out of nowhere, it wasn't just an ordinary opportunity. It was a divine appointment that had been set up for him long before he even knew it was possible. After years of waiting, after 7 years of praying and feeling like nothing was happening, James found himself at the edge of what appeared to be an insurmountable opportunity. His friend, who had reached out to him, wasn't just offering a job or a position. No, this was something far greater. This was an invitation to step into a leadership role in a company that was about to expand internationally. It wasn't just a career opportunity. It was a door that would open into a future he had never imagined. But here's the catch. When James first heard about the opportunity, his heart sank. He felt overwhelmed, uncertain, and even unworthy. He didn't feel ready. He didn't feel like he had the experience or the qualifications. How could someone like him, someone who had spent the past 7 years in struggle and uncertainty, possibly step into such a monumental role? How could he possibly succeed in a job that would require him to lead others, to make high-stakes decisions, and to manage a team on a global scale? At that moment, it seemed impossible. Everything in his mind screamed that he wasn't capable, that this opportunity was for someone else, someone more qualified, someone who had it all together. But something deep inside him stirred. A quiet whisper in his spirit told him that this was exactly the moment he had been waiting for. The moment when everything he had endured, every tear, every prayer, was leading him to this exact point in time. James didn't hesitate. He stepped out in faith, even though every logical part of him said it wasn't possible. And that's where the story takes a turn, because what happened next was beyond anything he could have ever imagined. His first day on the job, James felt a sense of peace and clarity he hadn't felt in years. Everything seemed to fall into place. He was given a vision for the future of the company, a vision that aligned perfectly with his values and his purpose. The challenges that seemed insurmountable were met with solutions he hadn't even thought of before. His natural leadership abilities, which had been honed over the years of struggle and waiting, began to shine in ways he couldn't have predicted. What seemed impossible at first was actually part of God's perfect plan. The very moment James doubted his worthiness and his ability was the moment that God was moving him into position. The opportunity he had been given wasn't based on his qualifications. It was based on God's favor and divine timing. And within just a few months, James had not only settled into the role, but he had become one of the most successful and respected leaders in the company. What had seemed impossible was now his reality. And here's the truth. Chosen one. What James experienced is not a unique occurrence. It's happening to countless others, and it's about to happen to you. What feels impossible right now, what seems like a dream that will never come true, is about to become your reality. God is preparing you for the breakthrough that you have been waiting for. And just like James, you're going to step into a season of favor that will leave you in awe. You see, when you look at your circumstances and think, this can't be happening, you're not seeing the bigger picture. What God is about to do in your life might seem impossible from where you're standing, but trust me, this is just the beginning. And soon, very soon, you will look back and realize that every step you took in faith, every moment you held on to hope, was leading you to the impossible breakthrough that's about to unfold. Chosen one, I know that right now, it may feel like the odds are stacked against you. You're facing challenges that seem insurmountable, and I can almost hear your thoughts. Why is it so hard? Why does it feel like, no matter how much I pray, no matter how much I believe, nothing changes? Your heart might be heavy with frustration, and the weight of the world feels like it's bearing down on you. I want you to know, I see you, and I understand exactly how you feel. Right now, it might feel like you're walking through a storm, and every step you take is met with resistance. Maybe you're struggling financially. Despite all your hard work, the bills keep piling up, and your dreams of financial freedom feel further away than ever. Or perhaps it's your relationships that are suffering. You've tried so hard to mend the bonds that have been broken, but no matter what you do, it seems like things just keep falling apart. You may be dealing with emotional wounds that haven't healed, and it feels like you're stuck in a cycle of pain and disappointment, unable to break free. You might even be dealing with health challenges that have drained your energy and your spirit. You're exhausted from the fight, and it seems like no matter how much you hope, how much you pray, the answer just isn't coming. The fear of what tomorrow might bring can be overwhelming, and sometimes it feels like you've been forgotten. But let me tell you this, chosen one, God has not forgotten you. I know it feels difficult, and I know it feels like you're in the middle of a battle that has no end in sight, but I promise you, your breakthrough is on the horizon. This struggle you're facing is not your end. It's a part of your story, and it's leading you somewhere greater. You might not see it right now, but this very moment is shaping the person you are becoming. Every challenge you face, every setback, is part of God's refining process. You are not stuck, and you are not lost. You are being prepared. The pressure you're under, the trials you're enduring, they are part of God's divine purpose for your life. Just like gold is purified by fire, you are being purified by the trials you're facing. This is the moment that will define the rest of your journey. This is where your faith is being strengthened, where your perseverance is being tested, and where your purpose is being unlocked. I know it's hard to see through the fog when you're in the middle of the storm, but let me assure you, there is a divine reason for everything you're going through. It's not punishment, it's preparation. God is working in ways you can't even comprehend right now. You're being refined, equipped, and positioned for a greater purpose, even when the way forward seems unclear. Perhaps the biggest obstacle you're facing right now is the doubt that creeps into your mind. the lie that tells you that it's all pointless, that it will never get better. But I want you to silence that voice today. You have been chosen for something extraordinary. What you're going through right now is preparing you to step into a season of divine favor. A season where your struggles will transform into the greatest blessings you've ever received. God is making a way where there seems to be no way. I want you to believe that. I want you to stand firm, even when it feels like the odds are against you. Because the God who is with you is greater than any obstacle you're facing. The strength you need is already within you, and the victory that's ahead of you is more certain than the battle you're fighting. So right now, chosen one, I want you to take a deep breath and let go of the fear, let go of the doubt, and let go of the discouragement. You are not alone. God is with you, and He's preparing you for a breakthrough so big, so life-changing, that you'll look back at this moment and realize that every struggle you faced was worth it. The very thing that feels like an obstacle right now will soon become the foundation of your success, the stepping stone to your greatest blessings. Chosen one, I know you're probably wondering, how is that even possible? How could the very thing that feels like it's standing in your way, whether it's your financial struggles, your broken relationships, your health battles, or your feelings of unworthiness, actually become the key to your breakthrough? It sounds impossible, doesn't it? But let me tell you this, and I want you to hold on to it tightly. The very thing blocking you right now is about to become your greatest blessing. Let's go back to the story of James, the man who waited for 7 long years for an answer to his prayers. James had been looking at his obstacles from a narrow perspective. He thought his lack of financial resources, his lack of connections, and his lack of experience were all the reasons God was withholding the breakthrough he desperately needed. What he couldn't see in the moment was that those very struggles were preparing him, shaping him, and positioning him for something so much greater. The financial hardship he was facing, which had caused him to feel so defeated, was the very thing that taught him resilience and resourcefulness. His broken relationships, which caused him so much pain, had opened his heart to a level of empathy and compassion that would become the foundation of his leadership in the future. The anxiety and fear he had been battling taught him how to trust God in ways he never would have learned in times of ease. Each obstacle wasn't a roadblock, it was a stepping stone. Now I know that it's hard to imagine your current struggles transforming into something good. When you're in the midst of your hardship, all you can see is the pain, the failure, and the uncertainty. But here's the powerful truth. God can take what seems like a curse and turn it into your greatest blessing. What you think is blocking your path is actually the very thing God is using to prepare you for what's coming next. That financial struggle you're facing right now, it's teaching you discipline, patience, and trust. The relationships that seem to be falling apart, they are removing the people who would have held you back, making space for the ones who will walk with you in your purpose. Your health battles, they are refining your faith, showing you that God is your ultimate healer, and that through your struggle, you will become a testimony of His power. It might feel like you're stuck, like nothing is moving forward, but the truth is that God is aligning everything for your favor. The timing isn't a coincidence. The challenges you've faced weren't meant to destroy you. They were meant to prepare you, to build your strength, and to bring you closer to your divine destiny. Think about it for a moment. Everything that seems to be working against you is actually working for you. The very thing you wish would just go away, the stress, the uncertainty, the obstacles, is actually positioning you to receive a blessing beyond anything you've ever imagined. You might be saying, but I don't see how that can be true. How can this situation possibly lead to something good? That's because your natural eyes are seeing only part of the picture. You're seeing the current struggle, but you're not seeing the divine purpose behind it. You're not seeing the blessing that is being birthed through the pain. But I promise you, chosen one, what you're experiencing right now is not the end. In fact, it's just the beginning of your greatest season yet. The obstacles you've been fighting are going to become the very things that propel you into a new realm of blessing. The very thing that's blocking you right now is about to become your greatest breakthrough. Imagine, just for a moment, that the struggles you're facing are the groundwork for a future you can't even begin to comprehend. What if the hardship you're enduring today is preparing you for the opportunities of tomorrow? What if your present discomfort is actually the moment that's positioning you to step into something so much greater? I want you to shift your mindset today, chosen one. Instead of seeing your obstacles as roadblocks, start seeing them as the building blocks of your future. You are being prepared for something so much bigger, and the very thing you thought was blocking you is the key to unlocking your divine favor. You're about to step into a season where your struggles will no longer hold you back. In fact, they will be the very things that set you free, that elevate you to a new level of success, peace, and purpose. What seemed like an obstacle will soon become the testimony of your victory, and you'll look back in awe at how God used everything to bring you to where you are destined to be. Chosen one, I want you to take a deep breath and reflect on everything you've just heard. The struggles, the doubts, the impossibilities, all of it. But what I'm about to share with you will make everything you've been through make sense. It will show you that this moment, this very moment when you're listening to this message, is not just a random occurrence. It's part of a bigger picture, a divine plan unfolding in ways you can't yet comprehend. Remember Sarah, the woman who was on the brink of losing everything? Sarah was at a crossroads in her life. Just a year ago, she found herself in the midst of what seemed like an impossible situation. Her business was failing, her finances were at rock bottom, and she had no idea how she was going to recover. There were times when she thought it might be easier to just give up and walk away. It seemed like all the doors were closing, and no matter how hard she tried, nothing was working. But she kept pressing forward. She kept believing that there was something greater at play. She prayed, she trusted, and she held on, even when the situation seemed hopeless. And just like we talked about earlier, Sarah's greatest blessing came from the very thing she thought was her greatest obstacle. Sarah didn't just turn her business around, she transformed her life in a way that was beyond what she could have ever imagined. 1 year later, she's now running a successful company that has tripled its revenue, expanded globally, and is helping countless others build their own dreams. Her financial struggles were not the end of her story. They were the very thing that prepared her for this massive success. The bankruptcy, the failures, the closed doors, all of it was part of her divine preparation. And let me tell you, chosen one, Sarah isn't the only one experiencing this. There are countless stories of people just like you who have overcome the impossible and are now walking in the very blessings they thought were out of reach. The same is going to happen for you. Just imagine this. 1 year from now, you'll look back at this moment, the moment when everything felt uncertain, when you couldn't see the way forward, and you'll realize that it was all part of God's perfect timing. You'll look back and see that the struggle you're going through right now wasn't in vain. The hardship, the doubt, the waiting, all of it was preparing you for the victory that's about to unfold. And I know it might feel like you're stuck, like nothing is happening. But trust me, God is working behind the scenes. He is making a way where there seems to be no way. The doors that have been shut are about to swing wide open, and the blessings you're about to receive will be beyond anything you could have imagined. Just like Sarah, who believed against all odds and held on to her faith, you are being prepared for a breakthrough that will leave you in awe. The very things you thought were holding you back are going to become the stepping stones to your divine purpose. So, chosen one, I want you to do something right now. I want you to declare that this time next year, you will be standing in the very blessing you thought was impossible. Your story, just like Sarah's, is about to take a dramatic turn. 1 year from now, you'll look back and see how far you've come. how God used everything in your life, every obstacle, every challenge, to bring you to a place of favor and abundance. The clock is ticking, and the divine appointment you've been waiting for is closer than you think. Get ready, because by the end of 2025, you will look back on this moment and realize it was all part of God's perfect plan. Your breakthrough is coming, and nothing can stop it. Chosen one, as I wrap up this message, I want you to take a moment to reflect on everything you've heard, everything you've felt, and everything that has been revealed to you today. The path you're on right now may seem uncertain, and the challenges you're facing might feel overwhelming. But I want to assure you that the clock is ticking towards something incredible, something divine. And I need you to hear this with every fiber of your being. By the end of 2025, you will look back at this very moment and understand why everything happened the way it did. I know it may be hard to see it now, but God has been working behind the scenes, orchestrating every detail of your life. The struggles you've faced, the disappointments, the unanswered prayers, they have all been leading to this moment. You've been prepared for something bigger than you can imagine. The struggles were never the end. They were the preparation for your breakthrough. In a year from now, you'll stand in awe of how far you've come. You'll look back and realize that every closed door, every failure, and every setback was a part of God's divine plan for your life. What seemed like obstacles were really the stepping stones to your success, to your blessings, to your purpose. Your divine appointment is coming. It's already in motion, even if you can't see it right now. And I want you to be ready for it. When it arrives, it will be everything you've prayed for, and so much more. It will be a moment where you understand why it all happened. You'll understand that the challenges were just the birthing pains of something far greater. God's timing is perfect. The dreams you've held in your heart, the promises you've been waiting on, they are all coming to fruition in the perfect moment. And that moment is closer than you think. I know it's easy to get discouraged when things aren't moving as fast as you'd like, or when you don't see the results you've been hoping for. But this is not the time to give up. This is the time to press forward with faith, knowing that your breakthrough is on the way. Your divine appointment is set, and nothing can stop it. No obstacle, no setback, no delay can hinder the plan that God has for you. So, chosen one, hold your head up high. Keep believing. Keep trusting. Keep walking forward, because your breakthrough is coming. And when it does, you'll look back and understand exactly why everything had to happen the way it did. You'll see the hand of God in every detail, every moment, every trial, and you'll be in awe of His perfect timing. The clock is ticking. Your divine appointment is on the way, and by the end of 2025, you will know beyond a shadow of a doubt that everything you've been through has led you to this moment of divine favor, peace, and success. Get ready, chosen one. The best is yet to come.